January 2021 Planning Commission meeting will now come to order. Ms. Parker, do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, before we consider a resolution, pass an ordinance, or make an appointment, we first want to take the time to say thank you. We realize that without you, the business of this great county could not be conducted. Now grant us the courage, wisdom, and foresight to provide for the need of all our people and to fulfill our obligations in this community. Help us to further realize the purpose and plan for the county of Goochland. We ask that you continue to keep us in your perfect peace, and it's in your sovereign name we pray, give thanks. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, gentlemen, you have a copy of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion
Or
to
are there
approve. Excuse me?
are there any amendments or changes to the minutes?
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Motion is made and properly seconded. We approve the minutes as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. Motion. Okay. We will now open a citizen comment period. And this gives you an opportunity to speak on anything that is not on tonight's agenda. You'll come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. So we will open the citizen comment period. Hearing none, we'll close the citizen comment period. Ms. Parker.
There are no requests to defer additions or deletions to the order of the public hearing. Our first public hearing item is in District 4. CU 2020-00014, application by Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks of the United States of America, Inc., Richmond Lodge number 45, requesting a conditional use permit for a private club, public assembly place, and outdoor gun range on 44.78 acres at 1468 Pony Farm Road on tax map number 33-1-0-5-0. The property is zoned agricultural limited A2. The conditional use permit is required by zoning ordinance section 15-112. The comprehensive plan designates this area as industrial.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Joanne Hunter, Director of Community Development. As Ms. Parker had indicated, this is a conditional use permit for the BPOE Richmond Lodge number 45, which is more commonly known as the Elks Lodge, proposing a private club, place of public assembly, and a gun range. Property is located at 1468 Pony Farm Road, which is in the Oilville Village. The property is just north of the Interstate 64 and just west of Oilville Road. This is the comprehensive plan map. You can see the property circled in red is designated on the comp plan for industrial. There is industrial across the street also, and to the east, which is the Oilville Business Park, which consists of about 18 businesses. And then there is commercial designation around the interchanges, and then residential to the east and the west. The zoning is A2. You can see the industrial park and the property across the street is zoned M1. And then along the Oilville Road, their frontage is zoned B1 commercial. This is the aerial of the photo. It is generally a vacant piece of property right now. So the Elks Lodge, who has submitted this application, they are an organization that participate in charitable activities, which benefit special needs children, Boy Scouts, sports teams, veterans, and other community organizations. The lodge currently has 119 members. They were or are currently located in Henrico County in the Innsbruck area. They have sold that property and they are looking for a location to construct a new lodge. As I said, when we introduced the case, there is 3 different uses with this. I'm going to cover each one of the uses separately, and then there's groups of conditions based on each use. So the 3 uses are private club, that would be limited to the members of the Elk Lodge, a public assembly place, which would allow rental of the facility, and then an outdoor gun range, more commonly known as a turkey shoot. Here is a conceptual plan of the property. So this is Pony Farm Road. You can see the hatched area is the Oilville overlay district. They're proposing in green about midway on the property, located here, a 12 to 15,000 square foot building. The building would be located outside of the overlay district, but any parking, landscaping, and signage requirements would need to be in accordance with the overlay district. The pink area just behind the building would be a proposed pavilion area. This blue area is storage sheds, and then the red area towards the rear of the property is the shooting range. Should mention that this property in total is about 88 acres, with 44 of the acres being in Goochland County and the remainder of the property located in Hanover County. So these, I'm going to talk about the private club activities right now. So what they're proposing would be the lodge activities would include member meetings, dining room and lounge areas open to serve members during non-meeting times. The dining room would serve full meals, and it also has an ABC license. They do charitable activities and events, and they also provide computer space for online learning and tutoring for children. They are also requesting a CUP for a place of public assembly. This would be to rent the Elks Lodge for non-Elks members for things like social gatherings, birthday parties, reunions, those type of events. They also would allow religious organizations to rent the property for worship and other religious activities. And with the conditions, the public assembly uses, they could have no more than 2 events per month with 50 attendees or more, and the number of events with 50 attendees or fewer would not be regulated. So again, unlimited number of events for people with 50 or less, and then if they have 50 or more, that would require, they would have to only be limited to the 2 events. The third use is the gun range or turkey shoot. The turkey shoot would be used for fundraising and would not be open to the public. Through the conditions, it would be open on Fridays from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. between September 1st and March 31st. We'll say the applicant really wanted to have the turkey shoot Fridays and Saturdays, but we did, through the conditions, limit it to Fridays only. And then for the shooting, it would be restricted to shotguns, no larger than a 12-gauge, low-powered 2 3/4 inch shells containing a number 8 shot, and the range would also be required to have a berm installed along the rear of the range and along the sides for public safety reasons. Here is an architectural elevation of what the lodge would look like. Again, this would be generally between 12 and 15,000 square feet. And they also have provided interior elevations. So you can see they would have a meeting room, a lounge area, the dining room with the kitchen that would be to serve the meals to the members, and then the area to the right would be the sort of banquet hall area that would be used for the rental of the property. There was a community meeting held on November 23rd. Board of Super members, Mr. Sharp, and Planning Commission members, Mr. Myers and Mr. Patuk, and at least 8 citizens attended. There were concerns related to the turkey shoot. Concerns were pertaining to noise, event frequency, and hours of the day the turkey shoot would be held. And there were also questions about the sale of alcohol and traffic associated with the rental of the property. At the meeting, the applicant did state at that time that they were going to also have athletic fields on the property. They do not plan to construct any athletic fields at this time. They're not part of the conditional use permit. If they were going to add athletic fields, they would have to come back and amend the CUP. Since the last few weeks, since the property was advertised and the adjoining letters have gone out, staff has received numerous emails and phone calls of opposition to this application. You do have before you on your dais copies of the letters that we have received. I'd say we've got well over 50 letters of opposition. Most of the objections deal with the impacts of the turkey shoot and how that would impact the surrounding area. However, there were also concerns about traffic and noise and alcohol with public assembly use. The fiscal impact, the Elks Lodge is a nonprofit organization and would be paying either a reduced or low or no taxes lower tax rate than an industrial development. Therefore, there would be a reduction in tax revenue if this request was approved. And for the planning implications for this request, the 2035 comprehensive plan identifies the future of this use of this property for industrial based on its proximity to the interstate, and a private club is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. The placement of the lodge on the subject property would reduce the opportunity for new industrial users in this area. So I'm going to review the conditions now. So there's 4 different categories of conditions. The first grouping of conditions deal with all the CUP activities. That would be all 3. That would be the lodge, the place of public assembly, and the turkey shoot. So these first 13 conditions would apply to all of those uses. One is the conceptual plan. They would have to generally conform to what I showed you in the presentation tonight. 2 is the elevation would be substantially in compliance, which was shown to you in the presentation. The pavilion, which is to be proposed to be located to the rear of the building, would have an architectural style consistent with the main lodge building. A plan of development and all other approvals would need to be obtained before any activity can take place. A lighting plan must be submitted and approved with the county for any temporary and permanent exterior lighting. Fireworks would be allowed once annually in celebration of Independence Day and only in accordance with an approved fireworks permit. Parking, a minimum of 50 parking spaces shall be provided and maintained. They would also be required to show an overflow parking area on their plan of development. Access to the site shall be constructed and maintained in a manner satisfactory to the Goochland Fire Rescue and the Department of Community Development. For signs, they would be allowed 1 detached sign, not more than 20 square feet. That it is in the overlay district, so that would need to be a ground-mounted sign with either a stone or brick base. Limit on attendees, a minimum of 150 attendees may be present at any CUP activity. So again, this would be with any of the activities, the Elks Lodge, the activities, the place of public assembly, and the turkey shoot. The health department, all CUP activities involving food service must comply with the applicable health department regulations. Outdoor sound, subwoofers would be prohibited. Amplified sound, including speech, music, or other noise, is prohibited outdoors except as follows. You could have amplified sound only during a wedding procession, so not for the reception, but for taping purposes for a wedding procession, you could have amplified sound. And amplified sound could be outside if it was inside a tent with the flaps closed, installed on each side. And this condition is similar, the same as what we've done for several other places of public assembly for other areas in the county. And then our last one would be if they sold or transferred the property, they would need to notify us and the new owner of the conditions. So then we're going to move into the conditions for the private club. So this would be impact the activities dealing with the Elks Lodge and their members. So the one is the use. Private club may be operated in compliance with conditions 1 through 15. So all the ones I've read and the next two. The private club activities would include club members, family members, and guests. And it lists some of the activities that they can do. And then alcohol, the private club, the serving and consumption of alcohol must meet all the requirements of the Virginia ABC laws. The next set of conditions deals with the place of public assembly. So remember, those place of public assembly would have to meet all the conditions of 1 through 13, and these following conditions 16 to 22. Place of public assembly may be operated on the property for social events, charitable events, worship activities, and similar events and activities for third-party members of the public, not private club members. Monthly limit, a maximum of 2 public assembly activities that exceed 50 attendees are permitted each calendar month, and the number of events with 50 attendees or fewer is not limited. So if they have less than 50 people, they can have an unlimited number of times they rent the property, but if they're renting it to more than 50 people, they would only be allowed to do that 2 times a month. The hours of operation for those events that are 50 or greater, there is no time restrictions for the events that are less than 50 people, but those 2 events per month with more than 50 attendees, the hours of operation that would be allowed would be Friday from noon to 11, Saturday 9 to 11 p.m. with amplified sound ceasing at 10 p.m., Sunday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. with the sound ceasing by 9 p.m., and from Monday to Thursday, no rental activity could occur at the property. 19, uniform security. For any event that they have rent that has music, alcohol, and more than 100 guests, they will have to provide 1 uniformed security officer at the location. That can be a county sheriff or a private company security officer. Alcohol, again, would need to meet any of the ABC laws. Annual notice, we would ask the applicant to provide updates to the zoning administrator regularly when they rent the facility so that we know when events are occurring. And then there would be a renewal for the place of public assembly, and that would be 5 years from the date of, if this was to be approved, February 2026. So we did not put a time expiration date on the Elks Lodge because they would be making a significant private investment. However, there would be a requirement to come back and review the conditions for the place of public assembly because that would have a higher impact. The next group of conditions deal with the gun range. So it would allow the use with those conditions 1 through 13, which are the first ones I reviewed with you, and then 23 to 30, those conditions would also apply. The targets for the turkey shoot are permitted only in the turkey shoot area shown on the conceptual plan. Number 25, you'll see some strike-throughs and underline. I did put a new resolution on your dais. We did get some good feedback from some of the people who had opposition, and they felt like the berms did not meet public safety needs enough. So we did some more research, and we found that this was a pretty standard size of berms. So what we're saying now is that they have to have a berm to the rear of the range and then along both sides of the shooting range. The berm behind the range where they would directly be shooting at would need to be 20 feet high, and then the berms on the side of the range would need to be 8 feet high. And then they would need to be located within 10 feet of the target. So You couldn't have it 50 feet off and then have your berm. It needs to be in an enclosed area. Gun and ammunition limits, I think I covered this in the presentation. It would be shotguns no larger than 12 gauge, low powered, 2 3/4 inch shells containing number 8 shot. The days and hours that the turkey shoot activity could occur would be only on Fridays between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. between September 1st and March 31st. Supervision, all turkey shoot activity must be supervised by instructors designated by the private club, and no one is permitted to participate in the turkey shoot activity except under the direct supervision of the private club members. And no alcohol may be served or consumed by any participant in the turkey shoot activity. And then this would have an expiration date as well, which would be 5 years, which would be February 2026. That's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
I have one
Sure.
question. The 2035 comprehensive plan designates the area right north of the Oilville exit as commercial, and then this is industrial. Could you explain a little bit about the reasoning for that?
So it's based on taking a look at that area, so all along Oilville Road, and I can bring that up, is more of a, facing along Oilville Road is more designated for commercial, would typically get more of your pull off the interchange, self-service uses, gas stations, restaurants, those sort of things. The Oilville Business Park is already located there, and it was an area to provide a natural extension. Again, it's also good to have some industrial area close to the interstate. We have very limited industrial areas in the county, so it's really just proximity to the interstate with having the commercial uses on the frontage and surrounding the interstate, and then just a little bit further off the industrial parks.
Like,
Regarding alcohol, in the lounge, is that the only place that alcohol will be served?
That I'm being told, yes.
Oh, okay. Can anybody carry alcohol out on the property? It has to be consumed in the lounge.
And there would be ABC laws that would restrict where they can have and can't have alcohol on the property.
And you have contract with a bartender to manage that on a as-needed basis, or do you have a club member that acts as a bartender and?
We have members that act as bartenders.
And they have the,
No, we don't. Our
Okay.
bartenders are not members.
How about we wait for when they do their applicant presentation?
Sure.
We can probably call them up, that way everybody can hear it and they're
Got it.
not calling from
Thank
the
you.
audience, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Horner.
Okay.
Okay. Would the applicant like to speak?
Brand new, so, this is forward, this is back, and that's the laser,
Oh, okay,
okay?
thank you. Mr. Chairman, Planning Commission members, my name is Darvin Satterwhite. I'm here on behalf of the applicant tonight. My address is 3013 River Road West. Joanne has covered quite a bit of what my presentation would have presented to you anyway, but there's a couple of things in here that I would like to reiterate and maybe go over and amplify on a little bit. One thing I wanted to do is just describe to you a little bit about the Elks as an organization. A lot of times when we have applications coming before the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors, for some type of industry or business, or maybe it's a residential project or whatever, and you're seeing bricks and mortar coming out of the ground out of those projects. This is something more that's being presented to you than just bricks and mortar, because what the Elks bring to a community is just that, a sense of community. When they come to Goochland, they're not just coming to Goochland to bring in their members from Henrico, wherever. They want to have a presence here in this community. They want Goochland members, and that's one of the reasons we have a larger piece of property here with the size of facility that you see, 12,000 to 15,000 square feet. but they bring things to the community other than just the income that you might get off of taxes and so forth. This is the mission statement in general that is for the entire benevolent and protective order of the Elks of the USA. But each of the orders follow this in general. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I think what really jumps out to me in here is that they do a number of things, one of which you can see right there, to cultivate fellowship. That's not one thing we need today. I think we certainly need it. But then it also says there toward the end, serve the people and the communities through benevolent programs demonstrating that Elks care and Elks share. So that's what they're trying to bring to this community. It's a little different resident, if you will, that you'll have coming before you if this conditional use permit is approved. We do a lot in the organization with regard to trying to benefit youth and children, especially in growing up today in a society where there are so many things pulling them in a different direction. And we have a lot of programs that are dedicated toward educating youth with regard to the dangers of drug use. We do programs that benefit veterans. So we have these different things coming forward to actually improve the life and quality of the community itself. As an organization as a whole, the national organization, they actually have about $80 million a year that they put into these type of things for educational purposes, for the things that I've just mentioned, patriotic programs and so forth that are a benefit to the country in general. Special needs children. There are different things that they need and different programs and activities that are presented by the Elks for those purposes. We sponsor scholarships, for college scholarships for most everyone, promote scouting, and this is a very good location for that, fairly large tract of land that we have here for those purposes. Oops, there we go. Veterans work, as I've mentioned. We're not doing the athletic fields at this time. It may be something that if we're able to come to Goochland, that might be on the table later. But we still do smaller scale youth activities. One of the big things that they do nationally and has been a good program is what's called the Hoop to Shoot free throw contest, which has involved many children for athletic purposes and has been a benefit to quite a many people. Physical and occupational therapies, and again, the patriotic programs. So we try to do these things. We've been involved in things you'll see later on, and I think Joanne may have mentioned it as well. 4th of July fireworks is one of the limited things that we'd be doing on the property that has anything to do with fireworks. It'd be about the only thing. But we promote things like Flag Day and just things that are promote patriotism within the country. We're actually, of the national organization, Richmond Lodge 45, as has been mentioned, we're presently located down in Innsbrook, off Knuckles Road, just south of I-95. That property has been sold. They are located now while they're trying to relocate, hopefully here to Goochland. But this property that we have here now is under contract as we await the outcome of this. I took my acreage actually from the county GIS tax card. It actually showed 49.7.49. We attached a plat to it, but it's just one parcel. I think the county had the 44, and it could be that some was taken off for road purposes. I don't know, but I'm using what's actually shown there on the county tax card for 2020. Garland M. Anderson II owns the property now. The entire property that we're buying is not just this property in Goochland, but also the 43 acres in Hanover. That's basic. Most of it's wooded. I've got a few photographs I'd like to show you that show you a little bit of it in field. Most of it's wooded. We're not applying for anything in Hanover. That's going to be basically buffer property, and we're going to leave it like it is. We don't have any plans right now to do anything with regard to the timber on the property, so it would be buffer. The area that you see there in the blue, that's the Goochland portion. And if you want to extend those property lines across that rear property and just go straight on up, about halfway up, on both sides, if those lines pretty much parallel themselves as they go into Hanover County and terminate on the northern boundary. It's a creek that goes through there. So it's about roughly half and half in Goochland and half in Hanover. This is generally where we're located. Joanne has shown you this. We're not in a heavily residential area. It's basically A2 that we've got right now, the M1, and the business zoning that you see right there. Again, that's Hanover. Whatever you've got there, we're leaving it alone. We're not doing anything with it. It will stay pretty much as a buffer. One thing I do want to comment on regarding the comprehensive plan, and I understand this, and I'm simply pointing it out to you, that's their property. You can see that purple all around it. Yes, that's shown on the 2035 plan as planned for industrial. And, the comment's been made, and I can certainly appreciate the comment that, yeah, you're bringing in an organization here that's not typically industrial. I got it. I understand that. But I also understand something else, and the cornfield that you got there is not the highest and best use of the property either. Now, I don't know what kind of tax base you'll get off of us because we are a benevolent organization, but that's in land use. You're not getting anything off of that either. So at least you're providing a use to the property here that's an interim use that is not inconsistent with an industrial use. That building is not a junk building. When we put that up, it's a 12,000 to 15,000 square foot building. It's certainly something that can be accommodated later on to an industrial use if the market dictates that. So this is a good transitional use, and I think it is very much consistent with what you have here in the 2035 comprehensive plan. We've seen this sketch. Now, and I do want to point out one thing. A little bit misleading, maybe the way I've done this. That blue area that's kind of shaded in blue, the reason we've done that, that's the general area of disturbance with regard to construction. Those blue lines, just so we're all on the same page, those blue lines are showing the boundary of the property. We're trying to do that to show that even with regard to the part that we're developing, there are substantial buffers even on this property, not even counting the buffer that we've got back on the Hanover property. So that's the approximate location of the lodge building, again, 12 to 15,000 square feet. Our pavilion is back behind it. The architecture of that would be consistent with what we saw earlier in the county's presentation with regard to the building itself or the lodge. That's going to be about a 3,200 square foot pavilion. We have a storage shed about here. And this part is where that turkey shoot would be. The targets now that's the area. The shooting is back toward that rear line, directionally, toward the rear line, toward the rear. We're not shooting back toward, our facility, obviously, or to Pony Farm Road, or to either of the side properties. And again, we own if we buy this, we'll end up owning all of that rear portion of the property that is buffered now. Now, this is right along Pony Farm Road, kind of at the southern corner of the property, looking down Pony Farm. So I'm pretty much on the point of our property on Pony Farm as you look in that direction. The field goes all the way back to that tree line. You can get a little bit of a depth perspective from those telephone poles that you see there. Now, this is a view standing there right on the edge of Pony Farm, looking out across what is now a cornfield. And it's hard to get, the topo's relatively flat. It does roll down and then back up as you head toward the Hanover Inn, but it's a fairly large, spacious piece of property. This view is standing out in that cornfield at the approximate location of where that lodge facility would be, looking back to Pony Farm Road, right where I took those other photographs. So you can see those cars back there and truck along. That's the same vehicles that I showed you a minute ago. That's the general location of where the actual facility would be. This is at that same spot, just turning and looking toward the northeast. I'm sure if you've been out there, you're familiar with kind of a microwave cell tower in the distance. That's looking back toward that corner more in a northeastern direction. Still, you can see substantial amount of field. This is standing where that facility, large facility would be constructed, looking back toward that rear property, toward the Hanover line. That little dot there is a person. So I'm just doing that to try to give you some depth perspective with regard to the property that we're dealing with. All right, this is standing along the northwestern property line nearest to the residence that is through the woods there. In fact, I could stand on, this is me, I'm standing on that property line on the edge of the field, looking through the woods. There's a house through the woods there. So this is looking back. You can't quite see those vehicles on Pony Farm Road because that little spur of woods there is blocking it. But you can see the houses that I showed you in the previous photograph that are across Pony Farm. So that's the view that you have from back there. That, if you walk to the back of the property, you're going to see some fence posts just like this one that go across the rear of the property. That is marking the Hanover County line. So when you're looking now toward the northeast corner, I'm standing pretty much on the Hanover line. So there's not a lot of field in Hanover County, but there is some. All right. Again, 12,000, 15,000 square foot building, pavilion, playground area, same architectural style. You've seen this. This is generally, I mean, this is a nice building, and I would argue that it is certainly something that is compatible with conversion to an office commercial use, not unlike what you see there in the business park. So I'm seeing this as more of an interim jump from where you are now with strictly a cornfield to something that's a little more in line with your comp plan. 119 members. That's kind of like when people go to church. You say, I got 119 people at my church. How many people show up? Probably like 25 maybe. That's what we've got. So as far as the amount of activity and traffic coming and going here, you're not talking, as a practical matter, a tremendous volume of activity on traffic with regard to the members coming and going here. We meet typically on the first and third Tuesday of the month around 7 o'clock. I don't know if you've ever been down to Bella Cecilia when the Goochland Chamber of Commerce meets, but they'll have a gathering occasionally there, and it's that type of traffic flow, if you will. It's not a huge volume by any means. Secondary uses apart from the lodge facility itself, I don't want to misspeak on this. When I say school uses, we're talking about something that's fairly limited. It's actually something that's probably been more brought on by the COVID situation than anything else. But we do have some education of children at the present facility there in Henrico, but you're talking about, 20 children or less. So it's not a huge educational facility, nor is it intended to be. We do rent out for birthdays, weddings, reunions, social gatherings of that type. It's not what we're all about, because if it were, why would, we've got here that it's limited to 2 events per month. So I know people may have mentioned things about traffic concerns and so forth, but this is not 24/7. It is relatively contained with regard to the time that it's done per month, and you can see that you can only do 2 events a month that's going to have anything more than 50 people coming to it. Even that, we've got restrictions. I think these are good restrictions, by the way, in the suggested cup. There's only one we want to ask for your consideration on, but these hours that Ms. Hunter's gone over with you, we think that they contain the traffic to and from that area in a reasonable way that's certainly not going to give you an adverse traffic flow there. One thing that we would like you to consider on this, and I know we had mentioned this, I think, at our community meeting, that there would be a maximum of 150, a maximum now of 150 non-member attendees. The way the proposed CUP language is now, I think it's number 10, if I'm not mistaken, in the first set. Number 10 basically says 115 attendees for any CUP activity, but that means member-sponsored activities as well. And we simply request the Planning Commission's consideration of making that limitation applicable to non-members and not to everything. If you were going to have it, and Mr. Hunter and I have discussed this, it may make sense to have some limitation on even member events. And I was thinking in terms of 450, because once you get to 500, we're kind of into the crowd control permit and so forth. But we would like at least some consideration on member activities not being restricted to that 450, and maybe bump that up to from 150 to 450 rather. So, and that's the other conditions we are completely in harmony with. I mean, I think they're, again, a good set of conditions. Ms. Hunter's already gone over the fact that another aspect of traffic control is your uniformed security officer. Quite often, and I think it's suggested in the CUP, that Goochland County sheriff personnel are used for that purpose. Obviously, they know what they're doing. They're trained for that. And again, it's another break against any possible traffic flow problems that you might have here. We do have a need for, we don't have to have this, but we have made the Henrico facility available to small church groups. I know you're probably familiar with the community center on 522, Route 522 here in Goochland. They typically do that on Sundays quite often. That's something we would like to be able to do. The reason it's in this permit, it's, you do have a places of worship requirement, so if it's not in the permit, you couldn't do it. But we would like to at least have the flexibility to be able to do that. Now, this is the thing that has created, at least in my understanding, the biggest objection. I'm sure some other people probably have other objections too, but this turkey shoot, we're not in the turkey shoot business. That's not what we do. That's not what we're about. We do it in Henrico. We'd like to do it here on a limited basis, but it is not what we're all about. I would like for you, we very much would like for you to consider it. We think that the county staff has come to a set of conditions that narrows it down in a very responsible way that reduces the impact on most anybody around here. I've looked at and I'm not complaining about this, I've looked at the requirements that some of the folks that have had concerns have presented about firearms control from New Jersey to Spotsylvania County. And that's fine, but I'll tell you what they're for rifle range. We don't have rifle ranges. The only thing we're doing here are shotguns with low-powered birdshot. That's it. And you can see where we're located on the property toward the rear. You saw how far I was standing from the highway when I took the pictures from where the facility, the large facility would be. As you could see on our sketch, we're further away from the road with regard to this turkey shoot than even that large facility. And what are we getting closer to? Our property, another 40-plus acres in Hanover as a buffer. The limited, there's no problem with it being limited to Fridays, 7 to 10. Again, I think we wanted Friday and Saturday, but it's limited just to Fridays now. That's perfectly fine. And we're doing it from September to March. Now, you know, and I know, you do these things outside. February and March, you're not going to have a lot of turkey shoots. So as a practical matter, it's not like, oh, every Friday from September to March, they're going to be out there shooting. No, you're not. Weather's not going to let you do it. It's going to be freezing cold, it's going to be snow or whatever. But that is the time frame. And that's what the county has suggested. We think it's perfectly fine. I don't have any problem with that. Low-powered shells. A review of this permit, if it's a big problem, I mean, you would certainly, a 2-year period is not a very long period, but we'd have to come back to you. And if it's been a problem, you would certainly know about it and have it documented, I'm sure, at that period. But I think this is a good and fair condition as well, to have a review of the turkey shoot activities on a 2-year cycle. All right, this is the same photograph that I took before, that corner of the property closest to the residence near that northwest property line. Now, that line is trying to show an approximate area of where you'd be shooting. And I know you can't see it, but that little round dot, white dot, right below it are 4 people standing. And they had a shotgun. It was a 12-gauge shotgun with bird shot in it. Number 8 shot, 2 3/4-inch shells, and they're shooting back toward that line. Now, we simply had a handheld decibel reader. And I'm standing there, and when it shoots, and you've seen this, when it shoots, it's like a second or more. I'm seeing the smoke go out from the shotgun, and it's a second or more before it's getting to me. That's how far away we are from this nearest property or residence that you've got there on the northwest corner. And, I mean, 5 rounds, this is what they came out to be: 73.8, 73.9, 76.7, 74.5, 76.1. So if you take them, that averages to 75 decibels, basically what it was. And now, yeah, can I hear it? Sure I could hear it. It's a pop. It's not a crack like a rifle. The conditions prohibit using rifles. Your cup conditions do. You cannot use rifles. You cannot use pistols. The only thing you can have are these low-powered shot and a shotgun. So if you use the 75, it's like a vacuum cleaner. Okay, and I understand, vacuum cleaner's sitting there and it's running. This is a pop. Yes, it is. But if you look at things like a chainsaw, you got 110 decibels, and a power mower is 107. I think they're pretty consistent with residential uses, where neighbors cut their yard up to the side of their yard, and it's 170 decibels. And you can do it anytime you want to. This, we're limited with regard to when we can do it, and it is not an abnormal sound, even if we were in a highly residential area, which we are not, according to your comp plan and to the existing zoning that we see all around it, which is principally industrial and commercial. So, that's the turkey shoot. We're not the NRA. We don't want to be the NRA. But we'd like to be able to do it with some conditions. I think these are good conditions, and would ask your consideration of it. Now, there are folks here tonight that know a lot more about the mechanics of running the lodge and the things they do than what I've just indicated to you. So if you have any questions that I can't answer, I'd be happy to field it to them. But I think we have a good project here. I think we have something that is going to be very beneficial if the county sees fit to allow it to come to Goochland. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll now open the public hearing. When you're called on, you'll raise your hand if you want to come forward. You'll state your name and your address. You have 3 minutes. Okay? Lady, Young lady in the rear? Yes, come forward.
Helen Carter, 201 Deer Keep. My first would be, if they have equal amount of property in Hanover as they do in Oilville, and the Hanover is totally wooded, which definitely buffers more noise. If you want to store trailers, whatever, you've got them in a wooded area where you're not affecting anybody, residences or farmers, whatever. Why is Hanover not being pursued? Okay. So I'm saying, they'd be out of the industrial area of Oilville. They would be in a wooded area, much quieter with all the buffer. This is a wide open field, open to Pony Farm and Oilville Road and residences. And I'm just questioning, why is the other 40-plus acres not being addressed as the potential so that it's not having the same impact in an open area? Let's see, my next one would be shooting outside of the turkey shoots. What are the hours for shooting? Turkey shoots, I know, are 7 to 10 p.m. on Friday night, which I think is actually a ridiculous time. And also, I know that it sounds like a vacuum cleaner, but you don't have people running their vacuum cleaners outside at 7 to 10 p.m. You don't have people cutting their yards at 7 to 10 p.m. most likely, and probably not chainsawing. So it is noise when most people are trying to have quiet downtime. So what are the hours that they're allowed to use their shooting range outside of turkey shoots? So no firing of any guns outside of 7 to 10 on Friday night. Okay, it was also mentioned that during the turkey shoots, you could not participate with alcohol. That's a really good policy. But how do you ensure that they have not consumed alcohol prior to their shooting time of 7 to 10 p.m.? So that would be an issue, regulating the alcohol there. Let's see. They mentioned only 2 events per month where you could have between 50 and 150 people for their rental events. But then when you were just talking a little bit ago about maybe wanting, did I hear up to 450, 500 people perhaps at events? I don't know how many of you all are familiar with that actual intersection of Oilville Road and Pony Farm, but it's already a very deadly blind curve when you're turning off of Oilville Road from the interstate, making a left onto Pony Farm. And if you're increasing those numbers exponentially, I know your meetings are Tuesday night and you're saying 25 members, but the things that you're going to do at other times, mainly like, say, a Friday night, which is already a busy time on the roads, that is a huge concern for me. And I don't know.
Time.
Okay.
Shane Johnson, 2309 Temple Lane. So overall, my first concern regarding this permit, as has been stated by others, is around the noise. I can't comment to all of Mr. Satterwhite's comments about this being as loud as a vacuum cleaner. I can tell you that I have sat near shotgun events at Cavalier Gun Club and residents around that area. While this is not an application for a shooting range, that noise level is persistent. And so I have a concern about that. And I'll also call it and say that many of us in attendance tonight were not notified about this conditional use permit in terms of the invites and letters because we were deemed outside of the communication zone. But I can guarantee you that we are going to be in the noise zone. And I want folks to consider that. Roughly, shotguns can typically be heard between 1 mile to 2 miles away on average. As I mentioned, I'm aware of issues that have been raised, and I'm certain many here are aware of issues that have been raised from residents near Cavalier Gun Club, from noise complaints, and that is a facility that is over 437 acres. So think about that for a minute. We're talking the difference of, we're talking about 44 acres in this area, a total of 87 acres, and you're having shooting occurring, versus an expanse of 437 acres. Quite a difference. I would suggest this is a very small place, even to have turkey shoots. In addition, if, as Mr. Satterwhite claims, the Elks are not in the business of turkey shoots, then take it off the table. Why do we want to have noise like that in our community on a persistent basis? Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., 9 p.m., excuse me, I'm getting my kids down for bed, right? I don't want to hear it. Finally, as the earlier participant called out, the amount of traffic that we're talking about. Mr. Satterwhite mentioned we have 119 members. It's like a church. We typically have 25 showing up. Why in the world do you need to then look to expand that to over 450 people, potentially, for member-sponsor events? What limit at that point do you have or control of how many people are coming down that road, coming to events on a consistent basis? I will also call up and notice that while I respect the Elks are likely mature and very competent individuals, the fact that how in the world are you going to control for the fact that if I have a drink at 6 o'clock, I'm out on the shooting range at a turkey shoot at 7 p.m. Now, I know many of these members here would argue and indicate that they're very competent individuals, but I would question to this commission, how are you controlling for that? I doubt if a Goochland Sheriff's deputy is going to be there observing these adults before they pick up a shotgun. Think about that for a minute. I won't go into all the specifics, but I understand that a prior member.
Time.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, my name is Gary Jones, 2313 Temple Lane. So the middle of their property to the middle of our subdivision is approximately less than 8/10 of a mile. So I can assure you, we will hear these shotguns when they are shot. Also, there are some questions I have about the construction of the shooting range itself that wasn't given out. I'd like to ask, how many lanes will it be in the shooting range? 20. So you can have 20 shotguns going off at one time.
Well, they hand the shells out usually one at a time, but it would be
So, well-
20 shots in a round.
Okay, how deep is the range?
This shooting range is only 90 feet long, that's it.
90 feet?
It's not 200-300 yards, it's 90 feet.
So I'm surprised why the berm doesn't cover the whole 90-foot depth, the side berms. Also, will there be any dividers between shooters at all? So, no? No, okay. So, I retired from North Anna Nuclear Power Station, where there's a gun range up there also. That is about 7/10 of a mile from the building I was in. When security's out there practicing, it's bermed on three sides, just like they're talking about. They said the berms on the sides is the entire depth of the range. Oops, sorry. So, we could hear, in the building I was in, with 100 people on the floor, I could hear when they were shooting. They shot all types of guns. I could hear it. And when you went outside, you could really hear it very loud. It was very loud. So I used to think to myself, wherever I live, I'm glad I'm not going to be near a shooting range. And now I'm going to be near a shooting range. So I'm not very happy about that. That's it. Any questions? Thank you.
My name is Erin Dawson. I live at 11404 Brickview Lane, runs kind of parallel to this property. When I came to the informational meeting, they discussed 25 lanes, so that 9 rounds, 25 lanes would be 225 separate gunshots, as they only shoot one at a time, according to the representative. On a Friday evening, I really don't want to sit outside and listen to that in the fall. It's kind of nice to sit around your fire pit. We moved out there to be in the country, be peaceful. So every Friday night, because as they stated in the informational meeting, I believe they had them every Friday night in September. So not really liking that. Traffic, as was stated, the curve for Oilville Road and Pony Farm Road, is very dangerous. All of this traffic that would be coming to this lodge would be going through that intersection. These 150-person events will probably more than double the amount of traffic on Pony Farm Road. And as I said, most will be situated near a dangerous intersection. And really, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Forrest Griffin, and our address is 00 Pony Farm Road right now, just because we just purchased the property that is just adjacent to this one. When he was showing some of the pictures earlier, they were actually, that was at the corner of the new property we just bought. So, and we obviously bought it for the privacy as well. And honestly, I appreciate what the Elks are doing. I have family member in the Elks, and I could think of worse neighbors to have. So, but I guess my wife and I's main concern is the shooting range, as everyone else has mentioned. Specifically, I guess I grew up a hunter and I like shooting guns myself, but just still, as others have mentioned, 7 to 10 on Friday night doesn't sound exciting to me. So that's kind of our main concern, but otherwise, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Clay Carter, and I live at 1468 Pony Farm Road, which shares the address with the conditional use permit that's being applied for. One thing I would like to say is those photos are fairly deceiving, as well as the fact that there was hardly any mention of the fact that my house is in plain sight and directly across the field from where they want to do the lodge, as well as they want to do their shooting range. The proposed shooting range is maybe 250 yards from my edge of my property at most. There's little mention of that. There's no buffer between me that, he made mention that there was I think a section of woods between where they want to do this and the next house. There is not. On top of that, there's a subdivision of homes going in just north of this property that they want to put the permit for. I think it's going to be 16 homes going in, and right now, they're downplaying the amount of homes in the area, but when you look towards the future and what we want with the area here, I don't think this would be any benefit to people wanting to come to this area to put their home there, businesses. Like other people have stated, 7 to 10 on a Friday night is pretty ridiculous to me. And, that's the gist of everything I've got, but it's just, it doesn't really seem like a great fit for the area, when you look forward to the future and what, I think would be the best plan for the area. So that's my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Hi, Willie Carter, 201 Deer Keep. I'm opposed for the noise, the traffic, and the lack of adherence to the comprehensive plan. I have one procedural question. Do the Elks Lodges allow other Elk Lodge members from, say, another state to park at night in RVs at your facilities? Like a Walmart allows that, or Bass Pro allows that. The Elks get to share facilities nationwide like that?
We don't.
You don't. So that would be no RVs, no boat trailers,
We voted
no,
against it.
nothing like that. Okay, that's all I had.
Hi, my name is John Kidd. I live at 11404 Brickview. We run parallel to the property, just a small property in between us. A compound on that curve, it's a terrible location. twice a day. I drive it, and every day it's, you know, if traffic's coming the other way, it's a really bad spot. I also want to state the interstate coming off of that exit where you turn right to go on Louisville Road before you turn on Pony Farm Road. I know COVID's now, but during normal traffic times, you cannot obey the law and not get in an accident on that interstate already. And if people are coming around that time for that turkey shoot, they're going to be driving around the same time. It's double lined all the way down. And if you don't line up on the shoulder on the interstate, you're going to get hit. People continuously turn around in the Exxon parking lot to go the other direction. Excuse me. I would also, the alcohol, I mean, and I would say this with respect because I don't think these guys have any bad intentions, but if you look upon the internet, you consistently see overserved Elks Lodge guest kills and injures several and crash. I'm sure that Elks Lodge leadership had the best of intentions. 2 men shot inside Elks Lodge. Again, best of intentions. Woman dead, man in critical condition after shooting at private function at Elks Lodge. If you type in the internet search, it goes on and on and on. And again, I don't think any of these people is bad. I love what they do for communities, but intentions doesn't change anything if they kill a family member or one of the private members in these dangerous areas kills one of our family members if they're drunk. Home values, that's another big one for us. If I'm looking at a house and I move to the country, you expect to hear a hunter every now and then. You don't buy a house that every Friday night for 3 hours, you're going to hear consistent gunshots. And then tomorrow on Saturday, you might have 400 people at an event hearing noise. And then Sunday, you might have an event where it's only 50 people. It's just consistent traffic, dangerous curves, obviously extremely loud noise for us. I hear the guys in the White House shooting, and they're farther away from me than the turkey range will be, and I clearly hear them. Excuse me. Makes our dogs go crazy. We all have animals in the neighborhood, and we'd really like to, you know, I don't think anybody would care if they come in, if they got rid of the turkey shoot. The other stuff, if we could work out something for the traffic, maybe figure out a light for that exit off the interstate, maybe the light for that curve somehow. But right now, it'd be negligent to allow that to happen with the traffic and the safety in that area. I did have one question. When the lady spoke originally, she said the turkey shoots were not open to the public, and maybe I understood that incorrectly. I know the Facebook page for the current one, every time they list it, it says open to the public, and my understanding was it was open to the public. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, you have to be there now.
Can you bring guests?
Yeah, 3 times.
So it's open to the public. Thank you.
My name is Maxine Simmons. I live at 11400 Brickview Lane. We moved here a few years ago to take care of our legally daughter who's blind. And we moved and we wanted to be in an area that was nice and peaceful and quiet. But I'm sure afraid that with the shooting of the turkey hunt, it is going to be really, really hard because our bedtime is not 10 o'clock at night. And if I have to listen to all of that shooting, and it's not going to be quiet because my sister lives close to one, and I know you can say you're not going to hear it, you're putting up barriers, but that's not true. You can hear it, and you will hear it. So I just want to say the traffic is going to be bad, and we are really in an area that is really suited. It's so nice and peaceful, but it's not going to be that way with all the shooting and with all of the traffic that we're going to have. Thank you.
All right, hello. I'm Hall Carter. I live at 1556 Broad Street Road in Oilville, about 1 mile due south of this property. And just real quick before I forget, I have to respond to Mr. Satterwhite's comment that this isn't somehow a stepping stone to industrial one day, and this is still comports with industrial based on the 235 comprehensive plan. That is a remarkable comment if you think about that. I mean, why even have a 2035 comprehensive plan
if you can say this is some stepping stone to industrial. If the Elks purchase it, the 80 acres is theirs. There's no mechanism for the county to repossess it and then get it back in line with the comp plan. I mean, it was remarkable if you stop and think about that. But the main reason I'm here tonight is, for the record, to correct some of the items that are misleading in the report associated with the neighborhood aspect. As you've heard tonight, there are plenty of people that reside right around this area. The report's summary of information mentions their single-family dwellings to the west, business park to the east. Makes no mention of the residences to the south across Pony Farm Road, or the residents located at the corner of Pony Farm Road, or all the residences just north of the business park that are accessed off of Pinhook. From reading the report, if someone wasn't familiar with Oilville and Pony Farm Road, I mean, the report makes it think like you're in some 1,000-acre, Bear Island timber tract out in Cumberland or something. It's just misleading. The Pony Farm Road corridor right there connecting to Oilville and the residences access to the north off Pinhook, it's an established rural residential area with more to come. The aggravating part here is that they don't want to be in the design overlay district. And the reason they're not talking about Hanover is because they know none of this could get anywhere in Hanover. They're staying out of Hanover for a reason. So they don't want to be in the overlay. They can't be in Hanover. So they've stuck the building right in the middle of the field between the overlay boundary and the county line. So what's really going on here, it looks like, is that the applicant had a perfect spot in Henrico for decades. It was in the Innsbrook area, hidden at the end of a little dead-end road, and then they sold out for $3.3 million, if I'm reading the Henrico GIS data correctly. And now they need a new clubhouse. Their plan to locate in the Parkside Village fell through last year, and now they're here, and that's why we're here tonight. So many times these decisions to recommend or deny, they're very difficult when you have a good proposed conditional use or a good use for an existing structure, but you have community opposition. So you have to walk that fine line of recommending approval for the use while implementing restrictions to address the community's concerns. But in this case tonight, I think y'all have a pretty easy job. There's a reason why none of the uses they propose are by right. They all require the conditional use permit. It's a perfect example of zoning doing its job to steer smart development. And all you have to do is look at the statement of intent for A2, look at the comp plan with respect to the Oilville Village, and then once you have a better understanding of the surrounding neighborhood, that's it. You're left with no choice but to recommend denial.
Time.
And it has nothing to do with the Elk specifically. I just want to say any nonprofit locating here would be the same.
We have 4 people with their hands raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Anyone else in the audience?
Yeah. No one is coming. Okay.
My name is James Rose. I live in Powhatan. I do not live here in Goochland. I'm a certified appraiser in the Commonwealth. This has nothing to do with fair market values of homes in this particular area. The Elk Lodge has operated for 33 years in Henrico County and right in the middle of Innsbrook with a turkey shoot. The board has already approved a turkey shoot out here in Goochland off of Route 6, out of the Haydenville Fife Road, I believe. It's been there for years at the fire department. There's one at one end of the county. We ought to have one at the other end of the county. That's all it is. That's really all I got to say about it. Okay?
My name's Michael Light. I live at 3158 Sandy Hook, right up the road from here. I can't say enough good things about the Elks. I actually come to know them from the turkey shoot. That's how I ended up joining them. I wish I could put everybody's mind at ease, but I've been around shotguns my whole life. There's a huge difference between firing these low brass shotgun shells and, say, high-powered rifles and pistols like you see at a real gun range. And this is probably the most rural area of all the turkey shoots I go to. This would be a more rural area than any of the others. I mean, they're usually many more houses and much more urban areas than what this one will be. And they're family events. I think a lot of people, turkey shoots they're not as prominent as they used to be. But for me, I mean, I went when I was a kid, and when I go, I take my kids. They shoot and have a good time, and shoot on a good day, you win a frozen turkey. It gives you a good feeling, everybody goes home happy. But, that's all I want to say.
Okay. For the Zoom users, I'm going to ask you to unmute now.
Okay, my name's Marla Salucci. I think I'm supposed to go. And I live on Gallup Lane, right off of Pony Farm. And I'd like to highlight all the previous speakers that talked about noise, the shooting, the traffic, that I'd like to emphasize that I agree with them. So one of my questions is, okay, this is a members-only group, and I was wondering how much it costs to be a member. Because when the gentleman was offering his comments about the combined use permit, he talked about he was bringing so much to the Goochland community, but yet you can't bring so much to the Goochland community if it's a members-only group. But anyway, I'm concerned about the fireworks. How many people are going to attend the fireworks, and is that for members only? And the other thing that's real confusing is we've talked about Friday, Saturday, Sundays, events that end at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 10 p.m. That assumes that once that event is over, everybody leaves. And I'm telling you, that is not going to happen. We're going to have a few guys or a few women or a few families or whoever hanging out around their cars in the parking lot with a few beers, and they're not going to leave the property probably until later, much later. So talking about things ending at 10 p.m., which is really late, or 11 p.m., assumes that everybody gets in their cars and jumps and leaves once the time's over. And the other thing is to call the area not heavily residential. That's the whole reason we live in this area, is we all want space. We all want peace and quiet and privacy. So to say that this area is not heavily residential is by the very nature why we chose to live in Goochland. I just want to read, Goochland's goal in the 2035 plan is high quality residential development, with Short Pump moving further and further west. We are in a perfect position to have people that have access to shopping, services, yet the beauty and quality life in the country, that tranquility. So I just really hope that the Goochland planners and the Board of Supervisors stop and think, this really might sound nice when it's proposed to us, but practically speaking, this is going to be kind of a place where people are going to loiter, they're going to drink, guns are going to be shot off, and we're going to have more traffic and more problems than we ever wanted in Goochland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the next caller is a dial-in user that ends in 4268.
Hello, this is Janine Kersey. I am a resident of the Temple Heights subdivision, and I live at 2309 and on Temple Lane. And I just, listening to the comments tonight, especially when that resident came up and talked about her daughter and her need for quiet and why she moved to the country, and that's the reason that so many of us have moved here to Goochland. We live in a subdivision of really beautiful homes. We keep our homes nice. We keep our area beautiful and quiet. And when I think about turkey shoots every Friday night from September until March, did you hear that? Every Friday night. So instead of me being able to sit outside and enjoy a fire pit or enjoy my property that I have purchased, that I have invested my life, my money into, I will get to sit outside and listen to the sound of turkey shoots, listen to the sound of alcohol or people dancing or making loud noises. We have to think about development in Goochland to benefit the community of residents who have lived here for a really long time and who have invested in the community. These people were in Henrico, and they could have stayed in Henrico. We are not bringing people to benefit our current residents. Wouldn't even be approving this for it to align with the plan. I just do not agree with this request, with the noise that it will bring, I have been near the Cavalier Rifle Club, and I have heard shooting, unbelievable shooting. And I have known residents in that area who had to move away because they couldn't have peace and quiet. So I just request that you really think long and hard about how this would actually improve our community.
This is Linda Maddox. Can I go now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ms. Maddox, go ahead. Can you hear us? Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear us? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So when I first heard about this, the main thing I was really concerned was the shooting, because all I hear out here is shooting, you know, and it's like from miles away, and you can hear it because everything travels. The sound out here
Miss,
travels
would you
so
please state your name and
I heard
address?
about all the parties, the weddings and stuff, and I'm thinking, it's nothing but music and loud, you know, people that live out here, like Janine said, they go out and they have a fire, or I sit on my porch, or,
Miss,
you know.
would you please state your name and address?
What?
Would you please state your name and address?
I'm sorry, Linda Maddox, 2254 Shallow Well Road. I live about a mile down Hanover Road from the place. So anyway, but what I'm really concerned about is two things. One is it seems like everything they do there is for noise. Fireworks, that's great for dogs and animals and kids and stuff. The parties that they're having, everything there seems to be lots of alcohol involved. And I'm not a teetotaler, so I'm not a prude that doesn't approve of drinking. But these streets out here are dangerous enough as it is when you're driving and you haven't had anything to drink. And you're gonna let people out of there at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and they're gonna head in one of three directions when they get out. And these roads are curvy, people drive all over the center line, and somebody's gonna get killed. And so my objection now, more even so than the gunfire, is the partying, the alcohol, the fireworks, and all the noise and alcohol that comes from there. But so thank you for letting me say my piece.
Thank you. Could the call-in user with the last four digits of 4268 go ahead now?
Yeah, this is Pete Vatif, 4217 Lane. I gotta tell you that the Fellowship of the Elks is well known. It's a deserving cause and all that. That's a separate issue. This is not being discussed here. We're talking about the peace and quiet, the Goochland magic, like people come to Goochland to live. So three concerns. First, the intersection. Dangerous as it is already. We all know that. It will surely just simply get worse. Accident waiting to happen. What if it's your kid or your grandkid or your wife? Yeah, you got to think about that. Second concern, noise pollution. Do I have to have my small kids go to bed with earplugs in their ears? I wouldn't like to do that. Neither of you guys would either, I hope. Third, we are disregarding the interests of the 10 or so new homeowners coming to Carver Oaks, which is also nearby, who is going to represent their interests. Bottom line for county administrators making a decision here, if they're hoping to get more tax out of this parcel, that will surely decrease tax revenues from lowering taxes from all the homes nearby. Talking about a lot of Goochland County residents nearby. Thank you.
Thank you. There's one last one, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rick Duncan. I'm at 2306 Temple Lane. I live less than 1 mile from the proposed location of the Elks Lodge. I too have great concerns, as many people tonight have mentioned, of the traffic that's going to be brought here, the noise of the gun range, and the hours of operation. Again, like many people said, going until 10 o'clock at night seems pretty ridiculous. Another concern I have is the mixing of alcohol and guns, and I question the enforcement of all the rules that were mentioned during the presentation. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a self-governed or how that's going to be done, but they mentioned a whole lot of rules, and I'm just curious of how they would be able to enforce that. So I'd just like to say, please don't allow the sale of the land for the purposes mentioned today. And thank you for your time.
That's all I see at this time, sir.
Good, in that case, we will close the public hearing. Mr. Satterwhite, would you like to, respond to anything?
I heard the comment that someone thought something was remarkable. Well, I've heard some truly remarkable things tonight, too. And I think one of the most remarkable things that comes to mind is that you've got an organization like the Elks that want to come to Goochland, and all our surrounding residents can tell us that somehow that they're going to encourage drunk parties and bring in people to shoot shotguns, and they're going to be drunk, and or some type of carousers or whatever. That is just absolutely absurd. I've also heard, and 99% of this goes to the turkey shoot, that, okay, we're here, we want peace and quiet, this is an area of peace and quiet. Oh, really? Well, if you do your due diligence and you look at the comp plan, this hasn't changed. I mean, it's not like, oh, this is something new. This has been an industrial area. So guess what? You don't sit up your house near an industrial area and go, oh, I didn't know there was going to be any noise around. My goodness, what little noise the Elks would have compared to what you might have with a true industrial use there that your comp plan calls for. I don't know how you'd ever get it there with the mindset of the comments that I've heard tonight. Look, the conditional use permit, if we don't follow it, you know what happens. If we come in there and we don't follow, we leave people loitering, as this one person has suggested, beyond the hours. You know what happens. We violated the conditional use permit. We get a letter from the zoning administrator telling us that, look, if you don't adhere to the conditional use permit, we're going to revoke it. And that's exactly what you would have the right to do. So there's nothing here that's been brought before you tonight except this anecdotal that I think it's just going to be too much traffic or there's too much noise or whatever. Look, you've got this as an industrial area. We are, in fact, something that's better than what you've got now. And yeah, it is not remarkable to think that this would be a stepping stone to something better than a tractor going up and down the field. It is better, and it does bring on and attract things that you would want in this area. So I haven't heard anything tonight other than the noise, and a lot of what I've heard is dealt with rifle ranges and so forth. I don't know how many times we can say they're only low-powered shotguns, and they're not 24/7. So I think you've got a set of conditions that control all of these things, and the staff has given you a good set. I would ask for your consideration of those tonight. Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I guess two questions. One, the turkey shoot is between September and March. So that means that the area that the turkey shoot on will have to be lit.
I'm sorry.
Will have to have lights on it.
It would be light,
And
yes.
I'm assuming to get from the building to the shoot, the only way is, does it have to be a driveway or a walkway that's lit?
It would
All that
have.
has to be lit, because it's, I mean, like it is right now, it's dark.
Exactly. You would have to address that in your POD, yes. You'd have to have some type of access and lighting to accommodate it.
Is there any consideration, and, because I can't change what you're all applying for, not use shotguns, but use air rifles?
I don't know. I mean, that's, I'd be happy to ask my client that. But again, Mr. Rockatrelli, like I said, we're not in the shooting business. This,
I mean, the noise is the issue.
I understand.
And I've been to places where they use pellet rifles, BB guns, air rifles, air pistols.
We would be happy, I mean, you, as you know, are the ones that put the, the conditions on. We would hope that this commission would not fail to issue the permit, based upon just this issue on the turkey shoot. I mean, if you were to tell us it's air rifles or slingshots, I mean, that's up, seriously, I mean, that is something we would leave to your good discretion on that. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. That is not what we're about. It's been the central, I think, attention of this application, and I think that's unfortunate. But it's not what we have to have. It's not what we do as a community organization.
Sir, the Elks, do you absolutely prohibit alcohol being brought into your property from outside?
I think as the gentleman explained earlier, we try to keep, it's our policy to keep the alcohol consumed within the lounge area.
No, but people bringing alcohol from outside to inside your property.
From outside. I'd have to ask them. I mean, that's, he's talking about somebody coming onto it.
We have a beer and wine license, and we sell mixed, but you can bring your bottle, but it has to be labeled and kept behind the bar.
But you can't bring a case of beer, have it in your car, and sit in your car and drink beer in the parking lot.
We can't have it outside at all.
So it's contained inside the lounge only. And people pay with cash or credit card or like a real bar? Like a real bar? That's my question. Thank you. Gentlemen, first of all, let me say that because of certain reasons, I am recusing myself from this vote. So do we have a motion? I said because,
Gentlemen, could you please speak closer to your
Oh,
microphones?
okay.
Thank you.
I said, because of personal reasons, I am recusing myself from this vote. So do we have a motion? Or discussion? I'm a little concerned that, earlier it was discussed that there was going to be a maximum of 150 members, and then it kind of jumped to 450. I'm not sure where that came from or, why that number, it seems to be a big jump from 150 to 450. So is there a reason there's that number versus from 150 to 250 or 300 or?
Staff's recommendation in the conditions is 150 people. I think what the applicant asked for this evening was for the events that are Elk Lodge events to have either no limit on the number of people, or if the planning commission wanted to set a limit, would to be 450. But the current conditions, as it's written, would be 150 people. So that would be, I think they're asking the planning commission to consider that change.
And they're also asking for that 150 to be non-members, correct?
It would be Elks Lodge members and their guests.
A total of 150 people.
So the conditional use permit restricts it to 150 people, regardless of whether it's Elks Lodge members or the place of public assembly and rent it. I think what the applicant had asked for is not the rentals, but during the elk events, say if they do a bull roast or a pig roast or, shrimp feast, something like that, that they could have 450 people. Again, those would not be limited to the 2 events per month. There was no limit on the number of events that are for the Elks Lodge. So the only limit is the number of people.
So there's unlimited usage of events under 50. And then there's unlimited events over 150 as well?
Double check that.
Well, I have a question as well.
Let me just check this first. Any CUP activity, so it is 150 people. So it's limited to 2 events at 150 people. So
That's whether it's Elks, I said that wrong before, so I want to correct what I said. That would be any Elks event
Total.
or any place of public assembly. I
Right.
think what they're requesting is that for the Elks events, that they could have up to 450 people. That is not
I'm not
included in
sure
our
what the,
conditions.
I'm not sure what the determination is of just an Elks event means.
So an Elks event would be something that they sponsor as members and do for their fundraising type events. The place of public assembly is when they rent it to a third party.
Okay. So they can host some sort of event and invite up to another 300 people, and there's no limit to those events that they
No,
can?
they would still be limited to two
Two.
times a month. Sorry, I think I confused you because I said it wrong. Yes, Mr. Myers?
Would a 450 event, person event be inside or outside?
There is no restriction that says that they have to be inside, so it could be inside or outside. And again, the 450 is not part of your conditions. I think that's something the applicant is asking you to consider.
Well, if it were inside, wouldn't the limit be set by the fire marshal? Because most buildings have a maximum capacity.
Yes, it would be, once the building official sets and the fire marshal set the capacity, they have to have 450 people. Most of that would be outside. They would not be able to be inside with that number of people. Any other questions?
Okay. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
Well, I personally think 450 people is too many. I mean, that's an absurd amount of traffic and a lot of people. And I think that, we should probably amend that to something less than 450. Maybe 300. Yeah, it's just.
I guess my comments would be that, from everyone that spoke, with the exception of two of the members here, hunted, shot sporting clays and enjoy it. But that being said, I don't know that I would want this in my backyard, not in my backyard type thing, because I do have young kids and our bedtime is fairly early. I would have an issue with this happening throughout the duration of time as proposed. So one would be the noise, two would be the uncertainty of or the additional request for the number of people congregating there. Changing the comprehensive plan, we're looking at a zoning, we're changing the original use, and if you were to have purchased property here, maybe you would be more comfortable with an industrial use being next door to you versus this. That's not for us to, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So if you want the place, you buy the place where you want to be, and if something changes right there that negatively impacts you, that's impacting your investment and your family's livelihood. So I respect the property rights of the people that own the property, the applicant, but also the neighbors. So for that, I don't think that it should be recommended for approval.
Good.
Chairman, my client has asked me to withdraw the turkey shoot from for consideration. And I hate to interrupt, but that is obviously something that you're considering and maybe today. So they asked me to withdraw the turkey shoot as any possibility. Excuse me.
That's a game changer.
Mr. Patuck, this is your district.
What is your suggestion on the occupancy?
Well, first of all, that's an important change. I mean, 99% of this is shooting. That goes away, I don't see a reason to not approve it. So I would make a motion to approve with the amend to not allow turkey shooting.
Is
Do we
that,
have a second?
is that what we can do? I mean, is that the way this is?
Gentlemen, before we go any further, let's clarify the condition 10 in the motion. Is it as written, the 150, or
It's,
are you proposing a different limit?
That's the unsettled issue.
there'll be a lot of ambiguity here. We need to,
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
we
yeah.
need to
yeah,
have it, what
because-
we're voting on.
Defer.
Because
Specific.
right now, 150 is in the CUP. Is that correct, Ms. Hunter?
Yes, that's correct. The current conditions are set up for 100 max, 150. That's condition number 10.
But we could amend that if we wanted.
That's under the purview of the planning commission, yes, sir.
So consider their willingness to work with us. Can we work with them to increase that? Maybe not to 450, but to something more than 150?
I still say a maximum of 250. If you're gonna do it, a maximum of 250. There's still a lot of people.
I agree. I mean, I'm just asking the question to the rest of the board members. Do you agree?
I'm okay with the increase of people. It's, and this will be revisited in 2026. Is that right?
5 years.
Yeah.
So, no, because there's no renewal for the Elks Lodge events.
Okay.
So again, so if you increase that number, that there's no
There's no
renewal to
expiration.
come back and see. You may want to add in a renewal period for that. And if you do change that number, we would also want to change the parking because we set a minimum of 50 spaces. That was based on the 150 if they're going to have events with
You'd have to increase the
more.
parking.
You'd have to
Yeah,
increase the
right.
parking. too.
It seems like we're changing an awful lot on the fly here.
I agree.
We, you know, we're always asked to approve it as written, not to make suggestions. I mean, I understand taking the turkey shoot away certainly is a big deal and would be a big deal for all of the people who have spoken, but a lot's going on here at one time to keep up with. Is there a better way of handling it?
I agree with Mr. Duke.
Yeah, I do
think that
too.
a decision hastily made would be a disservice to the applicant and the community and the county, in my opinion.
Planning Commission does have the ability to defer the case.
So I move that we defer consideration of conditional use permit for the private club to have these questions answered and give us something specific to vote on, not to be changing all of this.
Do we have a second?
I would, Mr. Patel.
I would second that. I think that's a fair thing to do.
Okay, the motion is,
Sorry, before you vote, can we just clarify, we do need to defer it to a date certain. Would that be a 30-day deferral?
Is that enough
Yes,
time for folks to get this straightened
Yes.
out?
I think so. Yeah, next month. Okay, so the next planning commission meeting would be February 4th. So if you would consider amending your motion to include that, that would be helpful.
So I move to defer so that these questions can be answered and we can revisit it on February 4th.
Our next scheduled meeting? I second.
okay, the motion has been made and properly seconded that we defer this case until our February meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. The motion passes.
Gentlemen, just to clarify, Mr. Myers, did you vote?
Yes, I also, I'm voting to defer as well. I'm not recusing myself on that.
So the deferral motion passed 5-0.
Okay, Ms. Parker?
That's exciting.
We could just take a 2-minute break. We asked the applicants for the next two cases to wait in room 270, so that allows social distancing here, so maybe this room can clear out. and the applicants for the next cases could come in and join us.
We'll resume our meeting. Ms. Parker?
Our next item tonight is Countywide Ordinance Amendment ZOA 2020-00003, initiated by Cox Property LLC to amend Goochland County zoning ordinance, Section 15-262, to add car washes and M1 Industrial Limited districts through conditional use permits, and Section 15-272 to add car washes by conditional use permits and automobile sales service and rental as by right uses in M2 industrial general districts.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, again, Joanne Hunter, Director of Community Development. As Ms. Parker indicated, this is a zoning ordinance amendment that was initiated by Cox Property LLC. The purpose of the ordinance amendment is to allow car washes with the CUP in the M1 and M2 districts, and to allow auto repair sales and service by right in the M2 district. This would be countywide. Some of the background is car washes are currently permitted in the B1 and B3 districts, which are our commercial districts. They do require a CUP in that district. However, there was no car washes permitted under the industrial districts. And for the second part of the ordinance amendment, the M2 district already allows heavy equipment sales, trailers, machinery sales and service by right, but it did not include automobiles, which would have less impact, so we would recommend adding that as a by right use. While this is a countywide ordinance amendment, the applicant did initiate this amendment to facilitate 2 new developments within the county. So adding the car wash use in an M1 and M2 area would allow for a proposed Tommy's Car Wash to be located in the Centerville Village, in the general vicinity of Little Tuckahoe Creek and Broad Street, which is subject to the next public hearing. And then also adding the auto sales and repair would facilitate construction of a Valvoline, which would also be located in the same area. As you recall, when we did the zoning ordinance rewrite, we moved the uses into a chart format, so you can see in the M1 district, we would be adding car wash with the CUP, you see that underlined. And in the M2 district, we would be adding car wash as a CUP, and then you can see there was already sales, service, or rental of trucks, trailers, tractors, machinery, heavy equipment, and tools, and we would be adding automobiles there, and that would be a permitted by right use. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Car wash is less impact on infrastructure, or more impact in like an M1 or M2 district?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
The car wash is less impact on infrastructure, water, sewer, and all that, or is it much greater than what would normally be done in?
There's actually, most car washes recycle a good percentage of their water. Tommy's Car Wash, when they present, I'm sure they'll go into it a little bit more detail, but they are a highly green conscious company, and it's a very high percentage of their water is recycled and reclaimed.
Okay.
So it's probably similar to other commercial users.
Thank you.
Slightly, but pretty similar. Any other questions?
No.
Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Jennifer Mullen with Roth Jackson on behalf of Cox Property. I think that that Ms. Hunter identified the reasons. I'd be happy to go into the presentation for the next case, which is really the reason for these amendments. We do have a very high environmentally friendly program within this car wash, and I think most do these days, but ours uses a water reclamation system, so it allows us to recycle the water and reuse it through the facility, in addition to other environmentally friendly components. As noted, it is permitted in the B classification, so in less intense use classifications already. So this is allowing us to be consistent throughout that corridor. So I'd be happy to go into the presentation on the CUP request, or you can wait for that for the next one.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions as well. Thank you.
We just need a
Yeah,
motion.
we don't need to, have a,
Yes, it's
yeah,
public
all we
hearing.
need to do is vote on it.
Still need to have a public
No,
hearing.
it is,
Discuss it.
it is a public hearing item.
Okay. Okay, we'll open the public hearing then. And we'll close the public hearing.
Nope.
Yeah, nobody's, okay, we'll close the public hearing.
I mean, it seems like it's a business.
Yeah,
I see nothing wrong with adding it to an industrial district.
Yeah, it's a low impact
It's through a
amendment.
CUP as well.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve, Chair.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion is made and properly second, to recommend this for approval. All-
May,
all
may
in-
I clarify who did the second on that?
That's fine. I
Carter.
Mr. Duke?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay.
Our last public hearing item tonight is in District 4, CU 2020-00015, application by Cox Property LLC, requesting a conditional use permit for a car wash on 1.4 acres at 1515 Little Tuckahoe Court on tax map 591038A. The property is zoned Industrial General M2. The conditional use permit is required by Goochland County Zoning Ordinance, Section 15-272. A zoning ordinance amendment is pending to allow this use. The comprehensive plan designates this area as commercial and 100-year floodplain.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Tom Coleman, Principal Planner. As Ms. Parker said, this is an application for a proposed car wash, and it is a conditional use permit application. This project is proposed in the easternmost portion of the county. The subject property is zoned M2 industrially. Properties to the east and west and to the south are typically zoned commercially or industrially, and there's some property to the north that is zoned agriculturally. Look at the comprehensive plan, the subject property, and this is recommended for commercial in the comprehensive plan, and surrounding properties are typically recommended for commercial or for prime economic development in the comprehensive plan. Looking at the aerial photo, I have a little bit more information on this, but you see from the aerial photo that the site is the former location of the Cox concrete manufacturing plant, and highlighted in blue there is a little rectangle. That's where the proposed car wash is. And this conditional use permit applies to that, only applies to the car wash property. And again, the car wash property, it's about 1.4 acres in size. It is a part of a larger 13.2 acre parcel. The car wash site really features a gravel area that was used for landscaping supply that was a part of the SB Cox operations on the property. There was a community meeting held in November. Mr. Sharp from the board and planning commissioners, Mr. Myers and Patek, and 3 citizens attended. There were some questions about water usage and the location of vacuum areas with the site, but generally the people that were there expressed support for the request. And as been mentioned earlier, and you saw from Ms. Hunter's presentation earlier, there is a zoning ordinance amendment related to car washes that's under consideration, and that amendment would have to be approved before this application could ultimately be approved. What is being proposed is a Tommy's Express car wash. Have the site plan here. It features about a 5,200 square foot building, which would be an automatic car wash. The applicant indicated they would have 12 to 15 employees and service up to 500 vehicles per day. While the property is located at the corner of Little Tuckahoe Court and Broad Street Road, there is no access to Broad Street. The access would be from Little Tuckahoe Court. And The applicant also indicated that the project would be developed in conjunction with a Valvoline instant oil change on an abutting site. And while they may be developed at the same time, again, this conditional use permit only applies to the car wash site. This is an elevation that was provided by the applicant. This site is in the Centerville Village Design Overlay District, so will require a certificate of approval. There are a couple of elements with this elevation that would require, or with their site and the elevation that would require review by the Design Review Committee. That includes that front-facing sort of bay door style entrance that faces the front of the property and the distinctive architectural style. At least those two elements, as far as other issues like signage and landscaping and things like that, would fall under the Design Overlay District requirements. And with the proposed conditions, number one, we propose that the car wash be permitted on the property, subject to these conditions. The second one would require plan and development and would require all improvements be installed and, before the operation of the car wash. The third one would require the improvements to generally conform to the conceptual plan that I showed you earlier. The fifth one, they do have some vacuuming and maybe some other activities that would occur outside the building. So with condition number 4, we just want to make sure that those, any work that's done inside the building is going to be okay, but if it is done outside the building, it does have to be identified as a part of the plan review, and those areas would have to be properly screened, and that would be looked at as far as the design review, the certificate of approval, and the POD. The fifth one would say would prohibit any outside storage of materials and supplies outside. The sixth one, regulating signs, generally prohibits any attention-getting devices as a part of their operation. And the last condition is sort of the standard transfer release condition that you often see with these permits. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
The signage, are you saying that they would not be able to make use of lighted or light-emitting signs?
They're not allowed to utilize attention-getting devices. So the balloon men and things like that, they would not be allowed to incorporate those or use those.
As far as the outside appearance, the elevation of the buildings, that's something that will be addressed by POD. When the plan is drawn, that is something that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, I'm Jennifer Mullen again with Roth Jackson, and with me tonight is also Rob Worrell. He is the franchisee for the Tommy's Express for this location. Perfect, thank you. I like all of your new technology. I think I got it here. So Mr. Coleman went through the site pretty extensively. Larry Page is the owner of this property, and he acquired it this summer and plans to develop it in conjunction with the rest of the development as you head west to 288 with the commercial along Broad Street Road. The request before you is a conditional use permit for this portion that is shown on your site layout here for the Tommy's Express Car Wash. You may have seen the Richmond Biz Sense today talking about the growth in automated car washes. And Tommy's Express is a great example of a high-quality express car wash that is proposed for this location. It is zoned M2, as was noted and identified in the comprehensive plan for commercial uses, which is consistent with this request. In the site plan elevation, you can see here talks about or shows not only the building, and I think I can highlight here. Yes. So again, the access point here is off of Little Tuckahoe Court. You come in, there are the areas where you enter in your queue and then come in through the building and you exit out the rear. This portion here is where the vacuuming stations will be. And so I just want to highlight the landscaping that is surrounding both the property, but also all the way around on those three sides. That landscaping includes hedgerows that can be 5 to 8 feet tall. It has a variety of evergreen trees as well as shade trees, and those are in differing heights, so you can get 20 feet up to 60 feet, depending on the type of landscaping. This would go before the Design Review Committee for the building itself. It is within the overlay, so we'll have to submit separately with that. As I mentioned briefly before, the facility is a state-of-the-art facility. It incorporates a number of environmentally friendly features, which include the water reclamation system that I noted, as well as LED lighting. They have an acrylic roof to use sunlight during the daytime hours. These facilities are immaculate. They are professionally operated. They pay high wages to their employees and even provide tuition assistance every 6 months and have a partnership with Reynolds Community College. Tommy's will be a real benefit to the county residents, not just for the good jobs, but also for a fast, efficient way to keep your vehicles maintained, and an economic development opportunity, all that is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Respectfully request your recommendation of approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is it a one day, one run?
Yes, sir, it is one run. So you have the queue coming in with the 3 queuing areas and then one run through.
I have a question about the franchise. In what other markets do they operate?
Sure. Why don't I bring up Mr. Worrell to talk more a little bit about the franchise itself?
Where does the waste go from this? If you're reusing the water, what you're not reusing, where does it go?
Sure, I can address that.
Okay, thank you.
So, hi, I'm Rob Worrell, one of the partners in our operation of a franchisee of Tommy's Express that we're bringing to the Richmond market. And to answer your question about waste, so after a car is washed, there could be runoff from the washing of the car that goes down to the bottom of the pit, and then that gets pushed off into reclaim tanks, holding tanks that are on the entryway as you're driving up to the car wash. And that water gets filtered down, and then a good portion of that water comes back, and we reclaim that and we wash that. Those tanks, after maybe a 6-month period, will get filled up with sludge, is what we call it. And there are companies out there that we hire. One's called Pit Crew, and they'll come and it's like emptying a septic tank, and they'll dispose of it and take it to, I would guess, a landfill.
It's not put into sewer, it's actually hauled
It's
away.
definitely not put into the
I got you.
sewer.
Okay.
By no means with that's the case. And then to answer your question about where else are they developing, they're having a lot of, corporately, they're having a lot of success and growth right now. They're nationwide. They're in most every state currently, but they are a relatively new franchise. So I think they have about 50 open right now, and I think by the end of 2021, they probably plan to have, maybe another 50 open.
And you have one currently,
I have one on Forest Hill Avenue currently, 7048 Forest Hill Avenue. Welcome any of you all to come and experience the wash if you'd like to. We opened that in March of 2019.
And that's doing well?
It is. It's doing well.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, how long does the filtration process take?
The filtration through the reclamation system?
Right.
Good question. We don't know that for sure, but essentially it's 4 different 55,000-gallon tanks that are under the entry lanes. And what happens is when they fill up, then the sediment, it goes to the bottom, and then the top water flows over into the next one, and so there's a sedimentation drop-off until the very end. And then at the last tank, that's the water that we pump back in. And then after a 6-month period or so, it depends on how many cars we wash, but over that period of time, then we have to come and get somebody to pump out those tanks.
Okay.
So I can't give you an exact amount of time that it would take to run through.
So you just depend on a solid material, not really being dissolved in the water. It has to, you don't really filter it.
Well, we do filter it, because once we bring it back out of those tanks, then it does go through a reclamation system, and so it goes through a filter, and then it's pumped back out to the wash, and it's used from the handlebars down and at the early part of the wash, because it's not the cleanest of water, because it's reclaimed water, but it still cuts down on utilizing brand new water, essentially.
So, and because obviously there are gonna be some materials in it that's completely water soluble, that just goes through and washes somebody else's car, right?
Right, that's
Okay,
correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
gotcha.
but
Yes,
primarily for the lower half of the car.
That's right. In the beginning of the wash.
Got it.
Okay, I got you.
Is this a 24-hour day operation?
No, it is not. So currently, our hours at Forest Hill are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
You would suspect that to be the same?
I would expect that to be the same, and that's Monday through Saturday. Sunday, we do open at 9:30 and close at 6:30.
Okay.
How many people are you employing at your current location?
Approximately 12.
And that's, would be similar?
Would be similar. And just to give you an idea, a manager, of a facility might make approximately $65,000, assistant manager maybe $45,000, and then, 10 hourly employees that are making upward, close to $15 an hour.
Okay.
We also have, we have a tuition reimbursement program where if somebody's furthering themselves in education, then we want to support that. And so we do offer $1,500 in tuition reimbursement for somebody who's worked with this for 6 months.
That's a company, a Tommy's Car Wash? thing?
That's not a Tommy corporate. That's our franchise has chosen to do that.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
So they supply the basic carriage of the building, you've named it Tommy's.
They named it Tommy's.
Oh, so it's
Actually,
Tommy's all over the country?
Tommy's all over the country.
Okay.
Yeah. And a membership in Richmond is good. If you drive your car to California, you see a Tommy's, you can go through their wash as well.
Okay.
It does, the unique feature about the wash is it's an express wash, so there's no towel wipe down service.
Right.
It's a 3-minute wash, and then there's self-service vacuum, self-service mat washers. And we have a membership, so you would download an app, and you sign up for a membership, just like you would Netflix. You register your vehicle, you put in a credit card. At that point, we now have your license plate information. So when you come up to the gate, we have cameras that are reading your license plate, and if it authenticates and you're a member, the gate opens up and you're ready to wash.
But on site, during an average day, you only have 1 or 2 people.
In any given shift, we may have anywhere from, 2 to 5, depending on how the time of how busy we are.
Because the ones that I've been in, there's 1 or 2 people just emptying the vacuum cleaners and straightening out the hoses. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, for instance, in the morning when we open from 7 to 9, there's very little traffic, so we may just have two employees there at that time. But on a Saturday at 1 o'clock, when it's very busy, we'll probably have 5 employees.
Is it gated off so you can't get in there after hours?
You cannot get in after hours. We lock down the gate, so you cannot.
But you could still go over to the next piece of property, the lube place.
To the Valvoline, that access would not be denied. Based on the plan, you see on the top there, you can see that.
There's only one way in, one way
That's
out, right? So you're gonna lock that after hours?
The gate is right here where my red dot is.
So the vacuums would be open 24 hours?
No, they're not open 24 hours. The access to them will be, but we shut the power off, so
Okay.
they will not run.
So you can actually have people drive in there and park back there?
We would not prefer that to happen, but.
Couldn't you put a gate up right near Little Tuckahoe Creek Road?
Right.
Restrict
I mean,
going to the
That
other
that would
business.
restrict the Valvoline folks.
I'm sure they're gonna operate the same hours you are.
I don't know that.
I think from a practical standpoint, you're only coming in this entrance to come either to the, oops, I've done something incorrect, sorry. You're only coming into the entrance to either come to the car wash or to the adjacent Valvoline here. So from a property management standpoint, if you start having people park there, then that would be an internal security issue that we could handle. I think that the access point being open across, I don't know that there'll be any traffic that would come in just to park on the site.
We have not had any issues at Forest Hill, because it's open there as
Right.
well. We've never had any ordering issues.
I mean, I could just see, people pulling in their cars and hiding in the back and drinking beer out of their cars, and they got the Wawa next door.
Let's hope not. I will say we have a very good surveillance system, so.
Okay,
we can-
all right, cameras, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Can I say one other thing?
Sure, absolutely.
I wanted to mention just one other thing, and just something that it's not done corporately necessarily, but something that our franchise decided to do is with the onset of COVID, that we decided to offer free car washes for anybody that were medical personnel. So we did that.
Oh, it's nice.
And we also did that for all first responders. And year-to-date, through the end of the year of 2020, we offered, I think it was about $50,000 worth of free car washes
That's
for
awesome.
medical personnel and first responders.
Thank you very much for that.
We're very community-minded and oriented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to
We
approve.
have-
I'm sorry?
We haven't had the public hearing.
Oh. Got it.
Okay, we'll now open the public hearing. And we will close the public hearing. Oh, okay.
I think Mr. Patuk's chomping at the bit to get his car washed,
Mr. Patak?
hopefully without alcohol and loitering.
Correct. I make a motion to approve the applicant's.
Okay, the motion has been made and properly seconded. We recommend this for approval by the Board of Supervisors. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Ms. Parker?
We have no old business, but we do have one item in other business. According to the Planning Commission bylaws, the Planning Commission is required to establish the nominating committee. The nominating committee is a two-person committee which will nominate the chair and vice chair for the April meeting where the chair and vice chair will officially be elected.
Okay, and that committee has been established, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that will be Mr. Rocket Charlie and myself.
Okay, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. It's